Hi, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Branden Grimmett, and I serve as the Associate Provost for Career and Professional Development at Loyola Marymount University. It's so nice to have all of you with us today for the LMU Graduate Programs Open House. And today I'll be sharing some insights with you about how our office, Career and Professional Development, supports graduate students at the university, specifically around your own career development. We'll be spending about a half hour together, and we'll save some time at the end for questions and answers. But if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to submit them in the Q&A portion of the webinar, and I'll be happy to address those as you share them. I'd like to first let you know that our presentation is focusing on career and professional development. And this is our office located in the Bondurant building. And you'll notice that it's a bright, sunny space that's also co-located with many other offices such as financial aid, the registrar, the bookstore. And so we do enjoy a central location on campus that serves all of our graduate students, and our office is the central location and hub for supporting all graduate students at the university. I share this statistic with you because I think it's important for all prospective graduate students going anywhere to really understand that over the past 5 or 6 years or so, most employers in the United States have increased the education requirements for their employees. So what that means is that, about 40% of undergrads that have been hired for jobs that were previously going to students that only had a high school diploma. And similarly, about 40% of employers have started hiring students, out of graduate school that were previously only eligible to achieve those jobs with just an undergraduate education. So it's increasingly important that professionals that want to both earn more money but also have more meaningful career options think about graduate study and graduate education as a means to be able to take care of competing for those highly attractive jobs. And so whether you're applying for positions at companies such as entertainment companies in Los Angeles, or going to work for different school districts throughout the county, all of those industries are requiring more and more education of their employees. And it's important to understand how the LMU graduate programs connect to those different opportunities. And we'll talk a little bit more about how our office supports those and mandates that students get more education in order to compete for those opportunities. One of the strongest assets that we have to offer in career and professional development is our team. And so here you will see about 15 of talented career coaches and administrators for the students at our university, specifically supporting our graduate students. We come from a varied background and diverse perspectives. And what's great about our team is that we actually specialize in the industries that we focus on. And so rather than what you would find at most career centers across the country, having generalists that are supporting students' career objectives, each one of our career coaches comes from industry and comes specifically from the industry that they support. And so when you're looking to go into engineering or in some sort of technical field, you're speaking to people that have worked in those industries. When you're looking to go into education fields, creative or entertainment or fine arts fields, you're also speaking to practitioners that have either worked in those industries or have worked closely with the students that are focusing on those industries. And so as you look at our team and think about how we're structured, it's important to understand that if you come to LMU, you have access to not only the whole career and professional development team, but more importantly, you have a dedicated career coach specifically for the school or college that you've been admitted into. And so think about these professionals as embedded career coaches that are on your side to not only help you enter the market and think about how your skills might relate to the professional objectives that you have, but more importantly, to help paint a picture of what's going to be required as you make that transition from a graduate student to a professional. So you'll see here that we're organized by the leadership in our office, which includes myself along with our Director of Employer Engagement and Professional Development, as well as our campus partners. And then 2 of our industry career coaches also serve in leadership, Dr. Hannah Bateman, who works with our School of Education students, and then also Elena Muslar, who is dedicated to our students in the College of Fine Arts and the School of Film and Television. Below, you'll see that we have dedicated career coaches for the College of Business Administration, the Bellarmine College of Liberal Arts, but then we also have some functional career coaches that focus on healthcare and also STEM professions. So again, no matter what school or college you've been admitted to or you're applying into at LMU, you would have your dedicated career coach that would support your career objectives no matter what they are. I also want to call your attention to a really important resource called Handshake. Handshake is the most important job and internship search portal that's used by over 14 million students throughout the country. We are one of about 2,000 universities that utilize Handshake, but specifically within Handshake, students that log into the system are looking at jobs and opportunities that are marketed specifically to them. So the way I like to describe Handshake to prospective graduate students is that when you log into Handshake as an LMU graduate student, you're seeing many opportunities that are specifically targeting you as an LMU student, because every employer that's in the system, all 525,000 employers that we work with, are specifically choosing LMU as a recruitment target school. And so when you see opportunities, whether it's a job or an internship targeted for our graduate population, those are real jobs, those are real internships, and they're specifically looking for you as a student. I want to make sure that you know exactly the kind of volume that we're talking about as well. And so as of this week, we have roughly 11,600 current opportunities, of 3,400 of which are internships. And I want to highlight internships as a way for graduate students to test out their theories of career identity and transition to, to different industries. If you're making a career change, thinking about garnering new skills and competencies, it's important that you're able to test out those career identities before you take on that full-time opportunity. So depending on your program, depending on your career objectives, you may want to consider internships in addition to other kinds of skill building exercises as a way to prepare yourself for those future career objectives. I also want to let you know that Handshake is not just about jobs and internships, but it's also about events. And of course, in our remote environment that we've been operating in for the past year, it's important to know that we did not miss a beat or miss out on any programming. So we've still continued to have a robust slate of events that are both hosted by career and professional development, but more importantly, hosted by employers directly. And so for this spring semester alone, we've had over 350 events on the schedule, and about half of those have been specifically LMU hosted events. So whether it's looking for jobs and internships or attending events, Handshake is your #1 place to go. Career professional development also maintains a really robust website. And so if you navigate to careers.lmu.edu, you'll notice that we have a portal for graduate students. We make this portal available so that you, as a graduate student at LMU, understand exactly what it is that you should be doing during your time at the university to prepare yourself for life after graduate school. So take a look at our page. We have over 160 other pages of content that support your career development and learning, whether it's about internships, about the job polish, whether it's about interviewing or salary negotiation, or even evaluating multiple offers that you might be achieving throughout your time at LMU. We make it very easy for you to help yourself. You don't have to always depend on meeting with our professional staff, but instead you can simply access a lot of this information publicly through our website and our homepage. We also want to share with you some resources that are making LMU even more competitive when it comes to our student preparation for careers. Here is a snapshot from a New York Times article a couple years ago that was highlighting our partnership with a company called VMOC. And VMOC is a virtual resume critiquing service that allows students to upload their resume within 60 seconds or less, get bullet level, line by line level feedback about your document. Now, this is the same kind of AI technology that all employers are using to weed out initial applications for jobs that you might be applying to. So rather than having you apply to those opportunities kind of in the dark, we're giving you access to the same technology, the same tools that those recruiters are using to weed you out as potential hires. So this is a tool that's available 24/7. As a graduate student, you're able to actually benchmark your resume against thousands of other LMU student resumes, but hundreds of thousands of other resumes throughout the country. So you have a very good sense of how your resume scores and how to make the most of that document as you apply and submit it for different competitive applications, whether it's in marketing, entertainment, education, creative fields, you name it. So all of those resumes are industry specific, and the feedback that you get is both specific and measured against applications that have been successful at LMU and also at other institutions. I want to highlight another value add that you would be receiving if you came to LMU as a graduate student, and that is access to LinkedIn, but not just LinkedIn, but LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is a feature that comes typically with premium accounts on LinkedIn, and it's important to know that you would have access to this for free while you're a student. There's hundreds of thousands of video-based content pieces on LinkedIn Learning that allows you to augment what you might be learning in the classroom to better prepare yourself for future careers as well. So you'll see here on this page a custom playlist that we put together for our graduate students that walks them through everything from how to access Handshake and activate their accounts, but also how to write a resume and how to write those foundational documents for your job applications. I want to share with you some of the highlights of how our students have been utilizing LinkedIn. And you'll see LinkedIn Learning, we've had almost 4,000 students activate their accounts just in the fall semester alone, and had over 6,000 videos completed. And you'll also notice that we've had top courses within that training that includes, how to write a great LinkedIn profile, but more importantly, some of the more skill-based learnings that our students are coming away with. So there are courses that you can take through the system, and then there's also skills that you'll be developing through those different courses, and you completely can choose and customize what it is that you want to learn through the system. So know that this is something available to all of our graduate students, and this is a value add because typically when you pay for LinkedIn, it can be in the hundreds of dollars per month if you're looking for premium. So we do provide that free of charge to our students who come to LMU. I want to walk you through our programming that we also offer. So I told you about the 350 events that happen through Handshake, but we also have targeted recruitment and career weeks that focuses on the industries that we know our students are interested in. So you'll see in the fall, we focused on our business and STEM professional development events that were focused on our students that were pursuing degree programs in the College of Business Administration, but also in the Seaver College of Science and Engineering. We then transitioned to networking events and virtual fairs targeting students that wanted to pursue graduate school. While many of the students that participated in this were undergraduate students, we also have a fair amount of master's degree students at LMU that are interested in pursuing doctoral studies, whether it's an EDD, PhD, or other kinds of doctorate programs. So there's an additional opportunity to think about even further education post your LMU graduate degree. In the spring, we just finished a really powerful arts and entertainment a week, which included collectively coordinated events with other colleges of art and design throughout the Los Angeles area, but more importantly, recruitment and networking opportunities with some of the biggest studios and production houses in Los Angeles. And then finally, starting next week, we actually have our government and nonprofit networking events, which include helping our students who want to go into public policy, nonprofit management, education, teaching, but also just any industry that's focused on those particular sectors. Just to give you a sense of the kinds of employers that we focused on for the spring arts and entertainment, networking, and career conversations events, this is a sampling of the companies that participated in those sessions. And so I want to give you a sense of the caliber of the recruitment opportunities that are available to you as a student. I know that this particular slide may not speak to every student that's on the call today, but we have comparable opportunities with many of the other different industries, which can be displayed on the future slide that I'll share with you. In addition to Handshake and LinkedIn Learning and VMOC, we're also really happy to partner with a company called People Grove to bring to you an LMU-specific networking tool that allows you to be mentored and to mentor other students through something called the Pride. So the Pride invites all 70,000 alumni that work at companies such as Amazon, Google, SpaceX, the World Bank, and more to allow students to reach out to them and ask great questions about, how did you get into the LA Unified School District? How did you transfer the skills that you learned in your LMU graduate program into those initial career opportunities for yourself? So this is a closed community only open to LMU students and alumni. And what's great about this is that we don't make you wait until after you've graduated to access the alumni community. From the day that you begin at LMU, you have an account on both the Handshake, but also the Pride. And I'd encourage all of you that choose to come to LMU to actually start utilizing this as soon as your first day on campus, because it's important, whether you've got a 1-year, 2-year, or 3-year degree at LMU, to really think about your career identity from the very first stages of your degree program. The outcomes of an LMU education are, of course, limitless, and we know that all of you are looking at graduate education not just in a means of itself, but also a means to an end that includes career employability and upskilling that you're going to need to transfer whatever skills you have before your graduate program to what you're looking to do afterwards. We recognize that for some of you, that might be simply staying at your place of employment, but perhaps taking on a larger role or broader portfolio. So for some of you, you might want to make a higher salary or expand your influence at your company. And I want to share with you that for the class of 2020, which is perhaps the most impacted graduating class in the history of higher education due to the pandemic, we still saw 86% of our graduate students right into employment after they finished their program. That's remarkable given the kinds of challenges that we saw in this past year. We saw about 10% of our students continuing their education, which allowed them primarily to receive additional degrees, such as a doctoral degree, whether it's in education or in business or in other kinds of fields. 2% of our students pursued service, which would include things like postgraduate volunteer service or other kinds of service-based work, but only 2% of our students were seeking. So that meant that 98% of our graduating class of 2020 at the graduate student level was employed, working, or pursuing service or military within 6 months of graduation. So if those are the kinds of outcomes that can be achieved during a pandemic, I'm extremely optimistic about those of you considering LMU graduate programs at the moment, because we know that the future ahead of us will be much brighter than it has been over this past year from an employment standpoint. I will also share with you that those 11,600 jobs that are posted currently in Handshake represent a return to the same volume that we saw pre-pandemic. And so you should be encouraged by knowing that there are actually just as many jobs out there for you as there were for previous classes that graduated from LMU. As I mentioned before, we have many employer partnerships, and I want to show you here just a sampling of the kinds of companies that we've worked with. And each of these companies actually represents a company that has hired or recruited one of our students in the past successfully. So within the past 2 to 3 years, each of these companies has hired one or more LMU students to join their ranks as an employee. And I'm certain that no matter what graduate program you might be considering at LMU, that you can see yourself in some of these different brands or organizations, whether it's in the nonprofit realm, working with some of those companies in healthcare like Cedars-Sinai, or perhaps the KPMG or Deloitte, which represent our really talented Big Four accounting firms. Everything that you can imagine is really represented here. For some of these companies, they've transitioned their recruiting to virtual, and we continue to support those needs. And then when it's safe to do so, we will continue to make sure students get connected in person to the different recruitment opportunities that are available to you. As I put up the slide, I want to encourage those of you that are on the call to think about what questions you might have for me that I'm happy to answer as a part of the session. But I do want to mention that one of the best measures of our success is who our students become and what they're able to do with their LMU graduate degree once they graduate. And so this is encoded in our current LMU strategic plan, and it informs the strategies and the different resources that we have available to our students for life after graduate school at LMU. So at this point, I would like to turn it over to those of you that might have questions for me, whether it's about specific graduate programs and how they connect to different employment opportunities and how we work with those employers. Maybe you've got questions about internships for graduate students at LMU and how those are given academic credit or funded. You might have questions about different programs that might speak to your own career objectives, but feel free to pose those questions in the chat if you do have them, and I'll just pause for a couple seconds to make sure that you've got some time to think about those. As you're thinking about those questions, I will also transition to the next slide so that you're able to see our contact information and also ask any questions that you might have about how to reach out to us. So we are available from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, 12 months out of the year. You can email us at careers.lmu.edu if you've got particular follow-up questions at the end of this presentation. I would also highly encourage you to, again, check out our website at careers.lmu.edu And also follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we also have a presence on LinkedIn at just LMU Careers. Okay, taking a look at any questions that we might be having. So a question from Elizabeth, do you have partnerships for getting students in internship programs like you do with companies for employment and recruitment? We do have those partnerships. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that question. Most of the companies that recruit on our campus, whether it's in person or virtual, are actually recruiting for both internships and for full-time positions. So it's important that when you, for instance, log into Handshake, that when you're looking at particular companies or researching those organizations, that you take a look at the kinds of job opportunities that are out there. I would say that a good portion of our graduate students have some work experience behind them, and so if the work experience that you have is related to the kind of job opportunities you want to pursue in the future, you may not need an internship. But we do have lots of companies that value hiring graduate students for internships throughout the year, both the fall and spring, but also in the summer. I'll just also mention that our office, Career and Professional Development, actually hires graduate students from every school and college at the university to be our graduate assistants. And so one of the best jobs I believe on campus is to actually work for Career and Professional Development and to utilize those work study funds to not only support the other students in your cohort at the university, but also to make sure that you are front and center in understanding how we work with our graduate students. And so we hire on graduate students at LMU to work with our undergraduates, but also to put together programming that brings employers and students face to face. And through that activity, you're not only building administrative skills and networking and relationship building skills, but you're also presumably helping your own career development, because many of those programs and events that are designed are in relation to the graduate programs that our students are pursuing. Great question. If there are other questions, feel free to include them either in the chat or in the Q&A. Okay, I'll keep an eye on the chat and in the Q&A for the next few seconds, but I just want to wrap up and say thank you, and again mention that career and professional development is a huge asset to the institution, and it's also an important reason why many graduate students choose to come to LMU, because we know that education is not an in and of itself. You're looking to transition to life after graduate school, and so both the investment that you'd be making in terms of time and money, but also the kinds of skills that you're building are going to be paying off hugely for you in terms of return on investment for your future career path. And so I just want to thank you again. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email us at careers.lmu.edu. And I hope to see all of you shortly as a full-fledged LMU student. Take care.